Have you ever gone through the trenches of medical school or through a ghetto call and thought to yourself, like, why am I even doing this? Whenever you tell people these thoughts, they'll always tell you, no, be grateful there's a salary coming month end, or be grateful that you made it through med school. These are the chronically overused encouragements that people give towards us when we are feeling a bit down and out. But what if I told you that your skill set carries more weight in gold than what you were led to believe? In today's episode, I am going to highlight the unique skill set that we have as doctors. And medical students, I see you in the trenches as well, and this is the space where you are included as well. Welcome to Redoctoring. This is a podcast where you are given permission to be a different kind of doctor. To my returning listeners, thank you for coming to episode 6. New listeners, what's up? In the previous episode, I spoke about the identity silent crisis among doctors. Quite a hot take. Listen to it when you're done with this one, but I'm so glad that you stumbled upon this episode. Let's get into the meat of the conversation. One of my core beliefs in this life is that nothing is a waste. Nothing is futile. No experience is too small for you to use as a stepping stone onto the next. When it comes to degrees, there's a lot of conversation online as to, do you do a degree? Do you not? What's the right degree? What's the wrong degree? I don't believe in a wrong degree, okay? Your degree or whatever you experience in university is a foundation. Don't treat it like a prison, because they are building blocks in this phase to launch you into the next one. Another angle to look at this is the fact that in today's day and age, your skill set is what is valuable. It's your skill set. It's not in your job. It's not in the previous jobs that you had. Employers and people are willing to pay you big money if you are able to say what you know and the experience of how you got to know it and what you can do for them. That is what pays people's bills these days. It's not necessarily a title or a job. So that's the angle that I'm coming at this episode with, because we have a unique skill set and we need to celebrate it. You know, I actually think the best word of 2025 is doctoring. Like, I'm gonna need the Oxford Dictionary to put that into the dictionary, okay, in 2026, because I'm going to be using and abusing that word throughout this whole podcast. Basically, I'm speaking to the pre-doctoring and the post-doctoring. These are my people before they graduate and after they graduate with regards to medicine. So my pre-doctors are my medical students. With each group, pre-doctoring, which is medical students, and post-doctoring, which is normal doctors who are out and about doing what they're doing and getting paid, I'm going to speak to 3 categories that each possess: the technical skills, the mental skills, and the interpersonal skills that each phase gives you. So firstly, my pre-doctors, my pre-doctoring medical students. With your technical skills, number 1, first and foremost, you have information mastery, okay? Nobody can retain information as much as a medical student. Actually, as much as any student. When you are studying, I don't know, I think it needs to be studied, but I think your brain cells actually swell. And then once you're done studying for a degree or something, those brain cells shrink. I remember when we graduated, when my class year, we graduated in, when did I graduate? 2021? 2021, yes. One of the lecturers told us that you are your most smartest when you graduate, because that's when you have all the information. There's a lot of complex information. There's a lot of things that, attention to detail. Attention to detail. There's so much detail when you're actually studying and you're learning about what you're learning about, and it's just like, why don't we celebrate the fact that you are able to absorb and retain? You know, that should be celebrated. And that should be a skill that you can put on your CV. Time management. The time management of a student is next level. If you are in your res and you're doing things, you are scheduling time for that. If you are doing things in church, you're scheduling time for that. Once you start working, I've seen it in myself. Like, I just go to work and I come home. Work and come home. And work is already quite a mandatory thing. So it's like, there's not really much to juggle now as a working person. But back when I was a student, trust me, I was juggling a lot in the air. Actually, it wasn't that much because I was just about my books. But I saw what other people were able to do, and it's a skill. It's a skill to have the time management, to block out your days, to block out your weeks, and to be able to attack life at different angles. With regards to the technical skills, remember how at first I mentioned the information mastery, the attention to detail. Like I said, you are just so much better at noticing all the smaller things in life and in information when you are a medical student. Because once you start working, you just do what you've seen done. I don't know if it makes sense, but it's not so focused. You're not so focused anymore on the little mundane details because there's a cue to push. So you're just doing general work. You're doing general labor. But when you're a student, you're able to be meticulous and all, and your attention to detail is much greater. The capacity thereof, I'm celebrating it. A round of applause to you. Next, there's the interpersonal skills. First on my list is your presentation skills. Oof, as a student, it's grilled into you how to present patients. It's grilled into you to take time into each and every single phase of it. Unfortunately, it's a skill that is lost when you start working because sometimes you're referring patients and they just want to hear the whole story in 2 sentences. But it's a skill that I hope you are able to maintain and keep while you are studying. You're able to present and make summaries very quickly and very easily because you know that you're presenting to your peers in your group or you're presenting to the consultant on the ward round and whatnot, and it just, that knowledge and that skill is just there. Next, with your interpersonal skills, you have patient communication. You're able to communicate a lot better because I feel there is a less demand for your time as when you actually start working. So you're able to go into greater depth with patients, you're able to go into greater lengths with conversations, you're able to just go deeper and get more. Sometimes you end up even getting more than the doctor who's actually taking care of that patient because you are able to build a deeper form of rapport, which is quite sad. It's sad because we should all have that. But it's time that really kills a lot of relationship building with patients. Last but not least that I thought of is team collaboration. You are working in your small little groups that you go into hospital with and your clinical partner or your clinical skills team or whatever it is, and you learn a lot of teamwork in that. You have to keep each other accountable. You have to look for all the doctors all together. You kind of band together over the same type of pains, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and it needs to last. It needs to last a lot more. Once you turn over to the other side of post-doctoring, yes, there is some teamwork, but depending on how big your hospital is, you could be a team of one even. That's why I think that the team collaboration and the team spirit as a student needs to be celebrated. So next we have the mental and introspective skills. Okay, number one, first and foremost, yes, this one is maybe for both sides, post-doctoring and pre-doctoring, resilience. Ooh, resilience. This might be my unpopular opinion, but I think medical students are more resilient than doctors. For the fact that as a student, all you have motivating you is the dream to one day achieve this, you know? As a doctor, it's the money sometimes, depending on how you look at the job. But there's different things that need to keep you going each and every single day in order to not quit. For many of us, it's our bills. But as a student, there's literally, you're just holding onto a figment, like what you can see in your head. You're holding onto a vision. Let me paraphrase. As a student, you have your vision. That's all you have keeping you going. But as a working professional, you have bills, you have the, what do you call it? The responsibility to come to work, you have the responsibility to support other people. So there's a lot of other things to keep you going in the profession as opposed to when you are a student. Mainly because as a student, you ain't getting paid. Life can be a bit ghetto, so you have to rely on your vision, and that's why I think medical students have more. It's a different kind of resilience. I wouldn't maybe say more, but it's a different kind of resilience that keeps you going because it's a pull. It's not a push. See, once you start working, it's a push from everything. But as a student, you need to find that pull in you. I hope that made sense. Next up on my list, I mentioned taking initiative and grit. There, the perks of being a medical student is that there's no such thing as a stupid question. Okay, there's no such thing as a stupid question. And you should use your studying years to become someone who takes initiative and learn how to exercise that in yourself. People want to be around people who take initiative. People want to teach people who are interested, who show a type of pleasure into what it is that they are working for. When you start working, it is harder to show it. I'm not trying to compare the two, but I'm trying to say that when you are still learning and when you are allowed to make a lot of mistakes, that is when you should be shooting your shot at every procedure, shooting your shot at everything. It teaches you how to position and set yourself up and how to present yourself for opportunities. And that's something that can even translate into you being someone who shoots their shots regardless. Because, hey, the worst thing that can happen is someone says no. And that's a skill. It is a skill. You have a lot of adaptability that you develop. You have to adapt between different hospitals, different environments, working with different people over time. And it creates this vibe in you where you are able to adjust to new environments very easily. That's a good skill to have in life because one thing about this profession is you be moving. In internship, you'll be moving every 3 months into a new department. Every few years, you move for this profession. And if you are someone who is able to be adaptable and adjust to what it is that you're facing, trust me, life is better. Okay, so my MacBook is about to die, but I need to get through my notes for the doctoring part. So, with regards to doctoring, I will also break it down to technical, mental, and interpersonal skills. The technical skills of a doctor, these are the ones that are overly emphasized. The being able to diagnose, the clinical skills, the medical knowledge, the administrative things. Those are the things that medical school emphasizes that you need in order to be successful. Intubating, drawing blood, the procedures, ticking everything down. And I'm not going to spend much time over there. The technical skills of a doctor is what many focus on, and it's what many feel like that's all that they have. I remember even when I had to make my CV end of last year in December 2024, I actually found someone to write my CV for me because I did not know what skills I possessed. I just knew I know how to intubate, I know how to read an x ray, I know how to put in a CVP here and there, I know how to do an ICD here and there. But how does that translate into skills I can write on a piece of paper for the corporate jobs I'm looking for the research jobs I want to apply for? They don't teach us, and we don't spend time looking at the subtleties of the things that we're able to do, and that's another reason for this podcast, because there's more to be celebrated than just being able to stick tubes in chests and down throats and everything, yeah. With regards to interpersonal skills, I first wrote authority and leadership. Well, I'm laughing because that's what we are supposed to have, but they actually don't teach you how to have it. It's something you need to learn on the job, or you just over complicate. No, you overcompensate. You either have it or you overcompensate with it. You go to all these courses and they tell you that you are the leader in all these situations, but they don't teach you how to lead other people. They don't teach you how to be someone that is worth someone looking up to, which is something we need to have more conversations about. But it's a skill that you can develop over time as you are leading the junior people, as you're leading emergency responses, leading ward rounds. You're able to know how it is that you need to treat other people who are more junior to you and things like that. Most times when you're on call, you're the only one, so technically you are kind of the leader that the ward depends on, that the sisters come to, that everybody looks towards for the next decision, for the okay, for the no, for the that, and for the this. So there is leadership that you have to develop. If you don't develop it in internship, it's fine. It's fine. ComServe will come and it will put it in your face. It will put it front and center. You can't miss it in ComServe. You really can't. I also wrote advanced communication. We talk to multitude of people in multitude of states, And one of the things that we do a lot is communicating to patients and their families about bad news. How does this translate into the workplace, and how does this translate into other areas? Number one, communicators are the people who win at the end of the day. If you are able to feel what it is that you're feeling, but still communicate so that you are not transferring what you're feeling onto the other person, you are going to be the person who people are going to want to learn from, because it's never a thing of I'm transferring emotions. I'm just keeping it here. I actually should have written emotional intelligence with that, because that's what it sounds like. It's something that I only developed in ComServe. I literally, in ICU, I had to compartmentalize a lot, but also whenever I was in high stakes scenarios and situations with everyone, with my nurses, I had to feel stressed, but I couldn't yell and shout all my feelings onto other people. I had to compose and communicate effectively. I did witness colleagues not being able to do that, and that's sad because nobody wants to be on the receiving end of someone who is emotionally unintelligent. So I always used to pace myself and tell myself, continue breathing, because I still need to communicate to the junior nurses. I need to communicate to the interns that I would work with in other departments. Like, it's not your fault that this situation is happening, but it will be my fault if I make you feel some type of way because I feel some type of way. You know. Emotional intelligence is a skill that you can develop, and it should be more front and center in this profession. Next, we have mental and introspective skills. Ooh, the laptop is dying. Okay, so anyway, moral courage. Moral courage is the ability to make difficult decisions in scenarios where there's resource limitations, there is things that just don't go according to what they're supposed to go. It also ties into integrity, making the right decision even though no one is looking. And it's a skill that can be highly favorable and seen as championing in certain companies and in certain environments. Just the other day, side note, I learned that in corporate companies want to hire people who have the personality of the brand. Remember last time I spoke about personal brands and you want to link and whatnot? Yes. So when you go into working for a corporate company, they want to see, say for example, they value initiative and creativity and passion. They will want to see that in you as an employee, because then you're able to represent the company right. So that's another reason why this episode is important, because there's many things that we develop in our own personality and in our own functionalities of doctoring that can be translated and taken out elsewhere. Okay, so the next mental skill is being professional under all circumstances. This also ties into the emotional intelligence that I spoke of. Yeah, yeah, definitely does tie into that. It's hard. It's hard, and we're all human. We really are human. But this also just ties into the fact that we are crisis managers a lot of the time in as doctors. Like, there's crises that come to you that you know nothing about, but you still need to manage them. Um, and that's a trait that managers have, and that's a trait that people will want to put you in positions for. You also learn to maintain composure and maintain what it is that you're feeling, regardless of the situation. And that also ties into emotional intelligence. But yes, it's a skill that we develop due to the job. So just to summarize, all in all, our technical skills as doctors is literally just the tip of the iceberg that we have when it comes to describing ourselves and when it comes to putting what we know on paper when it comes to CVs. As medical students, pre-doctoring, don't forget that you are also in the process of acquiring those skills. It's not only the technical skills that you need to focus on, but also shine the light, flash the torch on all the other silent things that you are gaining along the way. To all my people who are busy doctoring, remember that in those tough situations, There's also a lot of skills that you're picking up that you are able to put on paper. And if you want to go get that corporate job, you are able to translate that into whatever role that you're seeking to apply for. We are not one shade of doctor, okay? We're humans, and because we're humans, we're very complex and there's a lot of things going on. So when it comes to your job, just know there's also a lot of skills that you're acquiring in the moment. As doctors, we are systemic thinkers, we are crisis managers, we are scientists, but we are also counselors. It's a complex ball of occupations all put together, but don't forget to know that you are excelling. You might not be excelling in the technical skills as much, but you can be excelling in everything else. I always felt like I did really well with the people side of the job. The book side of the job, the academics, the research and everything, that it was a challenge for me. But the soft skills, the interacting with bad situations, that's where I found I did better in quite easily as compared to the other side. But yes, just understand that there's a lot that you're gaining in the process. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm going to need all my YouTube warriors to like and comment. Leave me a comment and say what it is that you've gained that's not really publicized with regards to whether you're pre-doctoring or post-doctoring. Tell me what it is, because like I said, the technical skills are only the tip of the iceberg. So tell me what you're gaining as well. Tell me your soft skill that was unexpected that you have now and you are grateful for. If you want to follow us on the socials, we are on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. To my people who are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, please give me a good rating. I'm asking for 5 stars, but I'm going to leave the decision in your hands. And yes, that is today's episode. Hope to see you next week, same time, same place. And remember that this is your permission to be a different kind of doctor. Signed by Dr. Diane. Bye!